Hello everyone, my name is John Bussard. I'm an HPE Business Transformation Center engineer for Ingram Micro. Help support HPE servers, blade systems, storage, as well as Aruba networking technology solutions. In my videos, what I like to do is show you a slide from a popular PowerPoint and then demonstrate to you what that means within a management context. Today we're going to continue on our discussion with the HPE GreenLake Cloud Consoles. And in particular, we're going to be digging in deeper into the Data Services Cloud Console with their backup and recovery service. So this is a backup solution that can be found within the cloud to be able to back up your VMware virtualized environment. Now, one of the nice things about this solution is it can work with both HPE solutions as well as non-HPE solutions in your environment. But there is a little bit of caveat with that. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So this solution has a tiered approach to backups within your environment, so you can certainly do an instant recovery and backup of virtual machines within your infrastructure. This would be array-based snapshots, so arrays that are managed within the Data Services Cloud Console, something like an Alletra storage system, a Nimble, or a Primera-based storage system, could utilize this instant recovery option. So again, if you have a third-party solution out there, you won't be able to leverage this because there isn't that integration with the Data Services Cloud Console. But what you can do is a rapid recovery. So rapid recovery, this solution has the ability to deploy an on-prem storage repository within your environment. It happens to be a virtual machine, and you can direct your backups to that on-prem repository. And then finally, there's a long-term retention. This would be your backup that will exist within the cloud within your environment. So again, this can exist with HPE solutions as well as non-HPE solutions. One of the nice things about this is there are no egress fees for recovering out of the cloud. So that's nice when we talk about the cloud. So you can test your recovery out of the cloud without incurring any cost within your environment. So with all that being said, let's explore this management context. Okay, here we are up within the GreenLake platform, and these are the cloud consoles that we've been talking about. Certainly when we talk about GreenLake, and we're talking about managing on-prem hardware from the cloud, right? So things like cost metrics, so pay for what you utilize on a monthly basis. Those tiles are seen within GreenLake Central, but that's one aspect of managing with a cloud-like perspective. There's also the day-to-day maintenance. Compute Ops allows us to manage per-client servers, do things like firmware updates. And Aruba Central allows us to be able to manage networking equipment, so wireless as well as wired and gateway solutions. We're going to dig into the Data Services Cloud Console because this is where we'll see our storage solutions, and we're going to select the backup and recovery service. All right, and we're on the dashboard. We can see our inventory summary. We can see if there's any issues that are going on. We can see our protection status here. We can see our protection jobs. Have there been any failures? We can get some information we highlight across here. All right. If I go down a little bit further, I could see how my cloud-based protection store is being utilized as well as my on-prem repository. All right, so let's go right into this. What we're going to do is I'm going to go down to the VMware. We're going to look at virtual machines. And if I do a search for I've got this virtual machine down here, and it has a protection source as well as a protection policy associated to it. So we'll talk a little bit about those. But what I'm going to do is we're going to perform a recovery of this virtual machine and show you what that process looks like. So I'm going to go up inside our vSphere environment. We're going to go find that virtual machine, which is this guy here. We're going to open up the console to this guy. All right, so over here, we have some important documentation. This happens to be one of the videos that maybe you've seen on the channel. Here's a picture of me. Up here is an Excel. And you could see that I'm getting infected with ransomware and I'm getting redirected to a key. I got a transaction ID where no doubt they'll want some money from me if I close this out. We'll open up some of these files and you'll see it just brings me back to the same context. All right, so how do I recover my environment? So let's take a look at that. So we'll close this out. Let's go back into our infrastructure and we'll go down to this virtual machine that exists within the backup and recovery service. Now within here, we get some great information. We can see our schedule, see if any tasks. Right, but we want to look at our protection. This will be what we have protected today. So this would be the snapshot-based backup. This will be the on-prem repository. And this will be the cloud-based backup. And I could expand all of these if I want to. If I scroll down a little bit, this is going to rescale. There it goes. But if I select any one of these backups, I could delete them, change expiration, or recover them. So that would be my array-based snapshot. Here would be my on-prem repository. And over here would be my cloud-based backup. So let's scroll back up. I got different ways of looking at this information. I can also look at it based on a calendar. Right? I can also look at it based on a listing. Right? Alright, so we're going to select this backup here. I'm going to click recover from this. Now I could choose if I want a new virtual machine or replace the existing virtual machine, and what disks maybe I might want to replace. So we're just going to leave this as is. I'm going to click next, and I'm going to click confirmed, or type confirmed. And I'll click recover. And that's really all it takes to do a recovery, whether we're talking about the snapshot-based recovery, we're talking about the on-prem repository, or the cloud-based backup. That procedure will be the same. Now we're going to go examine, because this is a snapshot-based recovery, we're going to go examine this within VMware to understand what's going on. Since it's snapshot-based, we're going to see a few things go on. We see this rescan of HBA that's happened. We see a power off of a virtual machine, so our virtual machine's been powered off. So what's going to happen is the solution is going to take the snapshot and mount it into this VMware environment. And because it's going to be the same volume that already exists within the virtualized environment, it's going to have to resignature that and give that a different name. Right? And we can see that's happening right now. If I go over into the data stores, right, this would be the data store that these virtual machines sit on. What we'll see is another data store come up, and it'll have snap appended to its name. We can see it coming up right now. Right, and there it is. Right, and right now we're going through, it's going to be powering on certain virtual machines, but actually what's happening is we've got kind of a clone of this virtual machine. We're going to see some jockeying around of virtual machines that are going to happen within this environment. Right, so we can see the originals now put up there, so we rename what happened of the one we restored. All right, and now we're seeing a relocate of a virtual machine because we need to do a storage vMotion of that virtual machine from the snapshot back into production. And pretty soon we'll see that data store get removed, and we're seeing that happen right now. We've seen that's been completed. So if I look over here, right, you no longer see that extra data store show up. All right, and right now what we're doing is just waiting for this virtual machine to get powered on. We could also look at this backup job within the Data Services Cloud Console. If I select here and go down to Tasks, we can see that backup running over here. If I open it up, we can see it's about 90% complete. And if I look at the logs, we'll see what steps it's moving across then. So right now it thinks it's detaching the volume. Let's go back over to our recovery service. Let's go take a look, see what's happening, see if our virtual machine's been powered on yet. All right, we can see our virtual machine getting powered on. Let's open up our console again. All right, let's log in. Obviously, we get the shutdown event, but you can see that our dave's been saved. Right, all my files are intact. Right, they're ready to roll. So that's how easy it is to perform a recovery from within this environment. Well, let's go through the process that you have to go through to actually set this up within your infrastructure. So what you're going to need to do is some on-prem setup over here. So let's look at this. So first you're going to want a data orchestrator. So So this is going to orchestrate the connection between the cloud and your on-prem environment. You can see that I have one right here. And if I look inside my VMware environment, we'll find that virtual machine exists right here. Again, this is the connection between the cloud and your on-prem solution. All right, so how do you go about setting that up? Well, when you're new to the service, it's going to offer you to deploy that data orchestrator. You can have multiple. So if I click over here and then click download, you'll see that I'm offered an OVA file here. So if you've been doing VMware for a while, you probably have seen these. Right? And what do we do with these? We go up inside vSphere, we go up to the cluster, we right-click, right, and then we do deploy OVF template. And we can go through that process. And obviously, as you go through this process, you're going to need to set up IP addresses, gateways, DNS, and things like that. Now, the final thing you need to do after this is deployed and up and running is you need to activate it within your data services cloud console, because you don't want anything just to be able to connect to this. You want somebody to grab this and redeploy this inside your environment and then connect to the console. So what you do to be able to do that is you go through an activation process. So you do need to get an activation code. And where you're going to get that from is if we go over here, you can see that this machine has this IP address. Right. I'm going to place that in here. You can see that I need a passcode to get in, and once I put the passcode in, I'll get the activation code to be able to place within my Activate Data Orchestrator context. All right, and you get that passcode from over here and then right here. All right, it'll be offered to you as part of the deployment process. All right, so that is how you get the data orchestrator in there. The next thing you'll need to do is add a vCenter in your environment. Again, you can have multiples. You can see I have a couple here. This isn't anything all that difficult. Just click the plus sign here. You're going to give it a name for within this management interface. You're going to put the IP address or fully qualified domain, and then the username and password in, and then that'll be imported into this environment. Now, the final step you're going to want to go through is deployment of that on-prem repository to be able to do backups that are not necessarily array-based but exist on site. So that repository is called a protection store gateway. So let's click on that. You can see I have a couple of them. You can deploy as many as you want. You want to think about these a little bit, but don't think about it too much, because again, if you run out of space, you can deploy another one if you wanted to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click a plus sign over here. I'm going to select the vCenter I want to deploy this to. I'm going to click Next. And then I got to click to pick its size. So you want to think about this because, again, your backups are going to be placed on here. How much space do you need? This will be a virtual machine that will occupy the space within your environment or grow to the space within your environment. So you want to think about it, where you're putting this, as placing it, as well as its size. Because I don't have a repository or a data store that's going to hold this, I'm just going to make this 1 terabyte right now just to show you. I'm going to click Next. Now these are the data stores that are within my VMware environment, and I could select this one and click Next. Now here we get to put a name on this. We get to select the compute if we wanted to, what network we want this attached to, and then obviously IP address, subnet mask, gateway, and DNS servers. Right, you click Next. Now this is not going to offer you an OVF file. What's going to happen here is through the data orchestrator, it's going to place something within your VMware content library and then create this virtual machine for you as many times as you need. All right, so I've got 2 protection store gateways. We can look at that within my context here, so in my VMware environment. If I go down to, let's see, all right, here's my protection store gateway. And if I expand out over here, it's 4 terabytes, but I've placed it on an older Nimble array that I have. So I presented a volume from an older Nimble array, and I put my backups. It was my choice. I kind of wanted this not to be on the same array as to the virtual machines that I'm backing up. Right. So again, make your decision and choose where you want to place this backup repository. And after that, you're ready to roll as far as the setup of this. So next things you want to do is look at creating a protection policy, which is going to be a schedule that you're going to utilize to be able to perform backups. This isn't all that difficult. You can see I have a bunch of them already created already. I click the plus sign here. You're going to give it a name, click next, and then what type of backups you want to do? You want to do array-based snapshots? You want to do on-prem protection stores? Or you want to do a cloud-based protection store. So I'm going to kind of walk you through this, and then we'll actually go through and create this so you understand what's kind of going on. So I'm going to cancel out of this. Once these are created, I can go down to my VMware environment and virtual machines, and then I could select the virtual machine, then click protect, and then I'm offered these protection policies, and then they'll go about protecting it based on the schedule that I've decided. But this is kind of an individual approach to doing backups. You probably want to do something a little bit more holistically within your environment. So what you could do is you can assign these protection policies to protection groups. So these are groups of resources within your environment. So let me create one of these and show you how that's done. All right, and obviously you can see we can select this, and then we could protect this if it wasn't protected already. So let me click the plus sign. We got automatic protection groups. This will protect what exists as well as what virtual machines you might create in the future. So let's select that and take a look at that. And we're going to click next. We're going to give it a name. I don't know, we'll just call it demo. We're going to select the backup. We can do VM folders, storage folders, maybe vVol containers. And we could select our vCenter and then click next. And there's our vVol that we might want to back up. And again, we could see that within our vCenter environment down here. Right, so any virtual machines that get placed on that will inherit this backup grouping, and then I could assign a policy to it, and the backups would happen. All right, and if I select that, you see I could click submit. So I'm going to cancel this. So let's actually go through the process of creating a protection policy and assigning that to a protection group. So I'm going to go back up here. Let's go to protection policies. I'm going to click the plus sign up here again. And for simplistic sake, we're just going to call this a capital demo policy. I'm going to click next. I'm going to select an array-based snapshot. I don't know, why don't we do this every 2 hours? Right, and that looks pretty good to me. We could certainly make it immutable if we wanted to. That means you can't delete it until its expiration time exists. We'll do the on-prem repository. Obviously, I get to select that repository or even deploy a new one if I wanted to. Right, so these are those protection store gateways. And in this case, we'll do it daily, but I'm only going to hang on to it for 1 week. And then maybe I want to do a cloud-based backup. Right, and I'm going to do it weekly instead of on Friday. Why don't we select Sunday? Right, I don't want to keep them for a year. Maybe I'll keep them for a month. And then I'll click next. We can see my policy. And then I could click submit. Now, if you've noticed, I've been offered to create a new group in our environment. Right, so this will kick that off. Now, I'm not going to do that right now. What I'm actually going to do is we're going to go over and manually create a group for our environment. So the virtual machines that we are going to protect, if I go under VMware and virtual machines, I'm going to search unprotect, and then we'll see these 4 virtual machines. You can see I have no protection stores and no protection policy, so I want to create a grouping around these guys. So let's go do that. So I'm going to go down to protection groups. I'm going to click the plus sign again. This time I'm going to do custom protection group. I'm going to click next. And we're going to call this demo-group. I'm going to do VMFS VMs. And I'm going to select my Electra vCenter system. I'm going to click next. Again, I'm going to search for those virtual machines. We're going to select them and we're going to add them to this group. I'm going to click submit. Now, if you notice, no matter which way I come, whether I start with a protection policy or I start with a protection group, it's going to offer me to create the alternate environment. So we can see that I'm being offered to create a new policy wrapped around this. So that's pretty good thought process as far as creating this up. I'm going to do this manually just so you can see it. So I'm going to close this out. We're going to select our demo group, and I'm going to click Protect. And we're going to go find our demo policy. And then I'm going to click Submit. And then we'll be good to go. I'll have to refresh this in a little bit. We'll see this get appended. What you can do, let's go back and let's take a look at our protection policies here. There's our demo policy. We can see it's used by one resource right now. And then we can come back into our protection groups, and we'll see this policy has been assigned. Now, this will be a schedule for your backups. That's done through the protection policy, but I certainly could do ad hoc backups if I wanted to. So, for example, here's the actual schedule that exists. You can see I've got an array-based snapshot. So if I select this, you can see I can run now. Now let's look at what happens on the array itself. What can we expect to see? Now with Electra 6000 or a Nimble-based array, what you're going to see are data protection volume collections created. So all these right here, these are volume collections that are created by the Data Services Cloud Console. And if you see, if I select this, you'll see created by the Data Services Cloud Console. There won't be a schedule in here because that scheduling is automated by the cloud, but you should be aware that this is created within your environment. You can see this is actually related to our unprotected virtual machines. All right, so that is the Data Services Cloud Console Backup and Recovery Service. I hope you found this video informative, and please stay tuned for more videos.